Good evening, very warm welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show and our usual midweek non-league roundup here on the channel. I'm Chris Bell, delighted to say I am joined as ever by Lewis Sale. How are you, mate? Are we well?
Fantastic, mate. You?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. Right, first things first, guys. So everyone that has been eagerly waiting the Chris Millington and Andy Cooper interview, it is coming, but it will be at 9 o'clock, and it will be a separate stream to this one. Simple reason being, last week we spoke to Tom Scargill, had a really good chat with him. We did the interview, we pre-recorded it beforehand. 24 minutes, not a problem. We thought that's fine. We'll do the same again with Chris Millington and Andy Cooper. Similar sort of time, put it into the usual midweek show. Problem was, an hour and 30 odd minutes after we started the interview, we finished it. And we thought rather than chopping bits out and cutting it, we've just left the whole thing as it was as a separate standalone show. Because again, if we'd have included it in this, frankly, me and Lewis would have just been sat here for an hour and a half having to watch it as well. So we're like, right, we're going to put it as a pre-record, as a separate stream. So that is at 9 o'clock that will be starting over here on the YouTube channel. In the meantime, feel free to get your comments and the like in beforehand, Town fans. And then when you watch the interview, feel free to get your comments in as well on that. Let us know what you think of the interview. Let us know if you did like what they say, disagree with what they say, anything along those lines. It was always good to get some feedback as well. So, yeah, little precursor, the Andy Cooper and Chris Millington interview is coming up in due course, but not now whilst we're actually here, sitting here live with Germany, France on in the background.
And different clothes on as well.
Yeah, different clothes as well for a start. Yeah, thought it best to get that out of the way. But let's just talk a little bit about that actually, because it was really good. As I say, we didn't anticipate spending nearly 2 hours all in with Chris and Andy. It was extremely generous for a start for them to not say after half an hour, "Come on, lads, wrap this up. I've got things to do." But it was a really, really good chat, and hopefully, Town fans will come away with it with either a little bit more info, a bit more insight into kind of why things have gone the way they have.
Yeah, listen, there were two brilliant guys, weren't there? And what we do have to say is it is pretty much uncut. There's nothing in there that really shouldn't be in there. That was basically on
technical glitches included in Andy Cooper's case. I'm just going to put that out. I'm sorry, Andy, to throw you under the bus early doors, but your Wi-Fi needs upgrading.
for sure, and I think this is where we got the trust of those guys. We've had a chat with them, and it was a real comfortable 90 minutes. So it is a full 90-minute kickabout with both Millington and Cooper really talking from, kind of that embryonic stage at FC Halifax Town to where they both are now. A variety of topics covered in that from, initially getting together, how they both ended up in the dugout at Bashir, how the first season went, the significant FA Trophy run, challenges that they've had throughout their tenure at Bashir as well. The challenges that they faced last year with, quite an injury-hit squad, players rotating in and out of the club. And then obviously, interestingly, that people will want to know about, which does get later on in the interview, but it's definitely worth waiting for, is kind of how they've both departed the club and both have different kind of stories a little bit as well, which is really interesting to hear. Both very honest, very open. You might find some stuff out that you might not already know about as well, which is really interesting. But yeah, a fabulous chat with them. And listen, it's an hour and a half. We could have definitely gone on for a little bit more had we, probably said, could we have 3 hours with you? But yeah, fabulous chat. And it's, some content that we wanted to get across as well, because we recognise, that Halifax are flying the flag non-league in our region. And we've got a really good relationship with them. So, yeah, really, really good interview. And hopefully all the Share men, Share women, Halifax Town fans enjoy it, and non-league fans in general enjoy it, because it gives you a really good insight into what life is like as a non-league manager, albeit at the top tier, really.
Yeah, absolutely. As well, we did get quite a few questions submitted as well by Town fans beforehand. We managed to get through a good amount of those as well over the course of the interview. So if you asked a question, do watch it, because there's a reasonable chance that your question will have made it into the show. Due to the fact that we now, because of this, starting at 9 o'clock with the interview, mean that we actually have to rattle through things a little bit more than we usually do. So let's turn our attention then to some of the other non-league bits that have been going on across our region. And to be fair, we'll keep with Halifax Town because we weren't too sure. We've spoken today fully about this in recent weeks, exactly what was going to happen with Scott High and to whether he might return to the Shaman, obviously having been released by Huddersfield Town. Sadly, for Town fans, not going to be the case. He is might upset a few. He's another player from Halifax last season to have joined. You guessed it, Barnet.
Yeah, another one. Unfortunately, that is not signed on a dotted line for the Sherman this year. Another player that's gone to the EFL, and it's one that Dave, has made that point about, and he's absolutely right. That there's, 3, 4, even potentially 5 players that may end up in League Two next season that were playing with Halifax Town last year. Big blow. Listen, he did a really good job, didn't he, on loan from Huddersfield Town? I know that a lot of the fans really took to him. It seemed like a really good fit at the time, and I know that obviously speaking to Downsy, probably that level at League One, maybe just a little bit, a bit of a step too far for him at this moment in time. It's not to say he's not capable of doing it, but he could have been a bit of not a marquee signing, I'd say, but a really good signing to kick things off for the Sherman. But yeah, he's gone to Barnet with Ryan Galvin as well. So that's a big blow for Halifax. And I know that we've seen in the local press speaking with our friend Tom Scargill last week that it seems like Lakeland's got, I think, potentially 4 lined up ready to go. We're just kind of waiting for that to happen officially, which will be interesting to see who comes in. Obviously, we spoke about some of them rumours last week, but Halifax have got a bit of business to do. It doesn't seem that some of those players are able to commit to the club at the moment. In terms of those that were with them last season, having moved on, like Harrogate and Barnet. So I've got a bit of work to do, and I'm not saying you want to get your squad ready for that first game pre-season friendly, which we'll go through later on in terms of them friendlies, but it's vital that Lakeland has majority of the squad together to build them relationships and bonds both between him and the players between themselves as well, because that's going to be a real tough campaign, which let's be honest, what Millington and Cooper said in their interview as well.
Yeah, I was about to touch on that without giving spoilers away. It was a topic that came up with something that we've talked about for the last 2 or 3 years. To be fair, looking from the outside for FC Halifax Town, is that they get to the end of the season and end up having to replace 2, 3, 4 of the key players from the season that's just finished because they end up moving on. And I say that is something that is touched on by Chris Nanny, to say the least. In terms of for Scott High, it on the face of it, it seems like a sensible move. I mean, again, to be given the couple of players that have already gone there from Halifax, he's going to have some familiar faces around the place. In terms of the incomings for Town, obviously, we've heard that there's potentially 3, 4 signs lined up. The only name that I've heard actually being linked at the moment is Jaden Brown, who I think was a former Forest Green. I think he was at Lincoln as well at one stage. But it's going to, as you say, it's going to be crucial for Adam Lakeland to try and get bodies in and get things gelling as soon as he can.
Absolutely, and luckily that he does know this region well with his time at Farsley. He's also got them connections in the northwest, having been a coach to Flanagan at Curzon Ashton, and he's been at, I think, Charlie in the past, and obviously he's built his network up even further, having been at Kings Lynn recently. So he will have plenty of contacts. He'll know the players he probably wants to get in and what he's also able to financially get into the building. We know that Halifax don't have the luxury of a big budget in terms of mixing it with the other teams at the kind of top table of the financial aspect of a division. But I'm pretty sure when he's even when he's probably had his interview, he's probably already spoken about the kind of players he'd want to bring in, the kind of players that will set the tone for what he wants to bring at Halifax Town and to continue the good work that's happened in the past 3 years, because yes, he will probably get a bit of maybe a bit of a pass a little bit more because he's a new manager. But at the end of the day, there's still that fans' expectation to do as well as they possibly have done in recent years and really kick on. So it's going to be a vital time, especially over this next 3-4 weeks. We've seen at the top level, aren't we, even in kind of a Football League and Premier League, that it seems to be quiet, but you can imagine stuff is kind of bubbling and working behind the scenes until kind of the calendar ticks over into July, and you can see it just being chaotic. And I think this will be the case with the teams like Halifax.
Yeah, we touched on it last week as well. Shaman Forever says that Luca Thomas might be re-signing. I mean, we know that he's been released by Leeds. We touched on it last week. What a talent he is as well as a player, and obviously scored that tremendous goal from inside his own half last season. So if they were to get that over the line, it would be a good one. The one thing that concerns me about Luca Thomas is he's done, as you see a lot of footballers do nowadays, that he put on one of those social media posts, big thanks to the FC Halifax Town fans, you were great.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, when a player puts that sort of post on, that means they're not coming back. But hey, time will tell.
Yeah.
Just a comment as well from Ian before we move on away from Halifax. He said it might be hard to get players to relocate from King's Lynn to Halifax if he wants to look at his old club. I mean,
yeah, you're right. You're probably right.
Point, but at the same time, it's that gap, isn't it? It's that jump from the National League North up to the National League, and again, if he's got that relationship with players as well, it also depends a lot on whether it's players that he took to King's Lynn in the first place, perhaps from up north.
It is. It's and let's be honest. I was surprised when Lakeland actually became manager at King's Lynn. I didn't expect him to go that far down south and east a bit. Just east a bit, yeah. And I think it's the same with players. Players will go with managers that they trust and they know that they can get the best out of them. I feel that might be the same. It wouldn't surprise me if he looked at potential opportunities. And listen, with great respect to King's Lynn at the moment, they're a division below Halifax, and you'd want to jump up that level and still be in full-time football. So yes, you're right, Ian. It's a fair trek, but footballers will move as and where they can do if, one, the financial package right, but also if they feel trusted by the manager and they guarantee, first team football. Because if they are in National League North and compared to National League, there's only one place they're going to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a reminder for Town fans, just when we run away from Halifax, that the interview with Chris Millington and Andy Cooper is at 9 p.m. on the channel. It is set to premiere as well. So as soon as we finish just before 9, you'll be able to go back to the channel homepage and find that at 9. Let's talk other transfers then and retentions, and obviously turn our attention to Guiseley, who are the next highest representative of West Yorkshire in the non-league scene in the Northern Premier League. A couple of additions have come in. Obviously, we saw Amir Birchall a week or two ago. In comes Joe Silver as well, another young 21-year-old who was at Farsley last season. And then a couple of extremely important looking retentions, but really, really good retentions in Ollie Brown and Liam Ryhelge.
Yeah, been busy at Nevermore. I know they've officially announced kind of that retain list, as many clubs do try and do at this point. They've done that today. But yeah, to kind of wrap up a little bit of that is, we know obviously, like I said, Birchall's had a wow of a season at Emley. He's gone on to bigger and better things now at Guiseley, hopefully. And João Silva, who was attracting a lot of attention around the region. 21-year-old, I've seen him a few times, and he's a really, really good prospect. He's young, he's raw, he's got a lot to learn still, but he's a little bit of he's one of those players that it's hard to kind of track in terms of he's very talented, skillful-wise, feet-work-wise. In that final third is a big threat. Yes, he probably has, a few areas of improvement that the likes of Bosch and Bauer will definitely want to improve on. Maybe a bit of physicality, maybe kind of that defensive work. But at the same time, he was probably one of the brightest sparks in what was a really disappointing Farsley season. And he's one of those players that if he's given the platform to produce, he potentially could go up to a Halifax, for instance, in the next 2 or 3 years. He's got that quality in him. But can guys that get the best out of him for a while he's there? That's the big thing. He was on loan at Stocksbridge as well and had some decent games there and scored a few goals, and then has obviously gone back to Farsley. So, yeah, it's been a bit of a mixed career, but he's one that it's definitely one to watch. I mean, like you say, I think the two play... Oops, sorry, Chris.
No, I was just going to say there was allegedly as well interest from National League North sides as well. So, as you say, it shows there was certainly a few suitors for his talents, but it's a credit to Bowser and Bosch that he's opted to apply his trade closer to where it was last time in God's Guiseley. Yeah,
absolutely. It shows that, the good people like that will convince good players to come. And if he's local and he's guaranteed to play a lot of football, it makes sense for him at this point in his career. I think he needs to cement his place in the first team and really kick on and prove to people what he's capable of doing, because he is capable of going up through the leagues. And Bowers and Bosch have been able to do that with other players in the past from the time at Bradford Park Avenue. They've had Isaac Marriott, who's done the same in the past as well. Lucas Dunstan were brought back after, horrific injuries, and he's come back and cemented himself at Avenue and then before moving back to Guiseley with Brower and Bosch. So we've got the proven record, which really does help. So, and in terms of Ollie Brown and Liam Rydell, probably two of the key players that we really wanted to keep. Ollie Brown was arguably probably the best player that they had last season. Stepped in, magnificently.
And he played everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
Literally all over. Right back, centre half, centre mid, holding mid, stuck him on the right wing, I think. Once or twice, no doubt. He is the epitome of utility man at this level. The question is, and I think a lot of guys fans want to know whether he's going to nail down a particular position this coming season.
I could see him potentially fitting the similar position that's been vacated by Polo. I can see that happening. I could see him going into the centre midfield position. Jamie Spencer's been retained there. I think that would be a really tenacious midfield kind of anchorman in that area, allowing the likes of João Silva, Birchall, potentially to really kick on and get going in that final third. And I see Lucas, if he gets himself fit again, back into right back, that's where I think it will work out. I think that seems a really fresh and energetic, spine for what guys that could go into next season. And Liam Rydell's got all the experience. Obviously, got released by Bradford City. Was struggling to get a club. I know he'd been trialling at a couple of places before. Guys have snapped him up as well. Really experienced leader, left-footed defender, which is like rocking horse. What's it? It's such a bonus to have players like that in your squad, and you can fill in at centre back. He can play left back. At a push, probably can even still play a left wing back. Obviously might not be able to get up and down the field as much as what he might have done in years gone by when in his Huddersfield days, but he's still capable of doing that. So I think really, really key retentions. And I see again, like Halifax guys, are getting into the market a little bit more. Last season he had a few trialists and assigned a couple on, one of them being Jack Emmett, who's a magnificent player. And I could see guys are doing something very similar, because that's how Bowes and Bosch do it. They do like to have a few trialists in, and they will pick up one or two that will stand out and arguably be part of their starting 11, even, possibly squad for the whole season.
Absolutely. Let's turn our attention then to Bradford Park Avenue. Another key, certainly looks like a key player coming in through the door is Connor Brown, who of course is no stranger to these parts. Of course, he was a player that was on Guiseley's books in their National League years a few years ago. Last couple of seasons he's been at Buxton, where of course he knows the current Bradford Park Avenue manager, Craig Elliott, which explains how he's been able to lure him down from the National League North down to the MPL East.
Big signing. Another big signing for Avenue. We're just basically just churning over a brand new squad pretty much. I would imagine that might be it. There's always, you never know, there might be one or two more, but it feels like that squad is pretty much complete, I think, ready for that first friendly against Halifax, next Saturday. It's another key signing, and I think Avenue needed strength in depth that we just didn't have last season, and have built a squad that is competitive, a squad that will be looking to get into that playoff region and challenge the likes of Matlock. I've seen the Matlock squad again on paper, ironically today, and that squad is more than capable of competing in the division above, even potentially bottom half, bottom end of National League North.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It really is.
They are the team to beat in that league. There's no doubt about it. But Avenue have built a squad that, if you go like for like, there's a lot of players with a taken as well. So it's going to be competitive. North-east sides are strengthening as well as we speak, day in, day out. They're churning, again, players across each other. So it's going to be a really interesting one. And I think from Craig Elliott's perspective, I know he wanted his squad pretty much ready for that first game of the season. And he's ironically got it for pretty much the first game of pre-season.
Yeah, time will tell. I mean, because of this turnover in terms of players that have been coming in, would you expect maybe one or two of the survivors from last season's squad maybe to end up making way over the coming weeks?
Potentially. There's definitely that. I think with competition gives also an opportunity for others to maybe seek different opportunities if they just don't feel like they can fit in. For those players, it would be the perfect time because the season hasn't started and clubs will still be looking to pick up. We had one or two that just don't make other squads. I do look at Avenue squad and there's probably 3 or 4 players who are capable of playing in that division who are likely to miss out on the squad as a whole in terms of, a Saturday Tuesday night squad, 11 and on the bench. So, that depends on attitude, doesn't it? Are you there to prove a manager that, you absolutely deserve that shirt and you should be in that squad? Or is it one where you just start questioning, will I get in this squad and do I need to move elsewhere quickly? And again, I think Craig Elliott and managers across different clubs will see that within their own training camps already, and will be able to kind of just dig through that and see those that are willing to kind of take on that challenge and those that will go elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the rest of the signings, really, South Leeds have been busy. I think with 4 or 5 players in through the door there, and another body in at Route 1 Rovers as well in the NCL 1.
Yeah, so I know South Leeds, as you can see on the ticker below, they've announced a few signings. Probably ones that may be familiar to those who are regular non-league watchers. Mitch Hamilton has been at Gartha for a fair bit of years. So he's joined Craig Olver there. And Route 1 again continue to overhaul their squad for their debut season at My Richey, and are going to be really challenging for me. It could be a real good team to watch, and I think they're hosting Halifax Town, aren't we, as well, coming up. So that'll be a really good indicator of how far they've come and what challenges they've got come up against. And they won the West Riding County Cup last season, so they're on a crest of the wave to really get going this season and challenge the likes of Wakefield.
Absolutely. Let's turn our attention then, as we aim just to wrap up fairly shortly. Let's turn our attention then to the pre-season friendlies, because live football is back as of this weekend for some of the sides in our area. As you can see, this coming Saturday, Emley hosts Huddersfield Town, and Barnoldswick Town, they make the slightly unusual trip to North Wales to Real FC for a day at the seaside and a bit of football.
Yeah, it's not common, is it, for your first game?
I really like it. Why not?
Great weekend in Will.
Yeah, they've put a minibus on and everything as well for supporters to go down for it. So they'll have a great time down by the seaside.
Fantastic. It's supposed to be a belter of the weekend. So, yeah, that'd be great. And Huddersfield, new revolution under Lee Grant, take on Emley. And Emley have been doing some really good promotion work about that. I know that you went last season. Emley do that, just do it really well.
A cat. It was absolutely heaving last season. I suspect it will be this time around as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. There'll be a lot of Huddersfield, fans going down just to see the first game of the League Grant. Emley also having a few wins and outs as well, and they're really well backed and are really sensible of how they're doing things. So I think it's a really good friendly family. And then they're back up on Tuesday at home to Barnsley. The ones that are really standing out in there. And listen, there's going to be a lot of clubs there'll be a lot of trialists. Absolutely, Fackley having to rebuild their squad going to Selby. Campion have rebuilt their squad. They're playing Leeds. Basically, Leeds Uni have gone into the same division as the likes of Route 1 and Wakefield. And then Wednesday night, Gartha hosting Albion Sports, which could be an intriguing tie because Albion Sports, again, recruited really well, the likes of Andrea Moke, and going there, and Gartha will be looking to go even better in the MPLE. So I think it's a good start for the pre-season friendlies. We'll share them on our socials very shortly, just after our show. So you can keep up to date with everything that's happening from now until the end of pre-season. But like I say, we'll run through those fixtures every other week, won't we, Chris, to keep everyone updated, to go get your football fix.
It's fair to say Lou has been particularly busy. We've got 10 different slides of pre-season friendlies. In fact, I'm just going to tease us with the ones at the back end of next week as well. That one at Friday night looks like a particularly enticing one. Galka versus Emley, Friday night under the lights at the Sky Direct Stadium. And then Saturday, the 5th of July, is a very, very busy day, isn't it? When you look at the sides, I think everyone across our region is back in action fully that weekend.
It's great to have football back. Absolutely. We've all waited for it long enough. And we keep saying this and we sound like a broken record, but some of these friendlies between each other are not necessarily friendlies. So it's always good to get your game started as they go along. You might just see the odd gem here and there, but there's some, really good fixtures. And also I know a lot of clubs are trying their best to make it really easy for people to go and get to. It might not always be 3:00. They might do it at midday. So some people, if you've got the luxury of being able to travel, might go watch a game at 12 and then 1 and then go at 3.
I was just pondering that. I was just looking, obviously, at Avenue Halifax at 12 and then thinking, right, how far across Bradford can you get to take in a 3:00 game at maybe Route 1 over at My Richey or down across at Thackley?
We can try. We can try.
I think are you back from your holiday at that part?
I
can't remember.
I'm back. I'll be back by then. Yeah, I'll be back by then. So yeah, I might be looking at how quickly we can get across to the various places. But yeah, there's loads to come. But it's really good to see. Listen, all these could be change. We know that this could happen all the time with friendlies, but you get an idea. And what we'll say is, obviously, I did this yesterday, so we'll try and update as and when we can. But it's always good to check out the club and the websites as well, just to keep in checked in case anything does change.
Double check their the team's social medias and stuff just before you set off, just to make sure that nothing has changed. Right, that will do us for the live part. As I said at the start of the show, if you weren't with us right at the beginning, the Andy Cooper and Chris Millington interview is about to start at 9 p.m. on the channel, but the original plan was to put it into this live show now and keep it to 20-25 minutes. Didn't work out that way. We ended up doing, I think, an hour and 35 or so. So rather than us put it into this live do massive stream, it will be going live at 9 p.m. as a separate stream, but it is fully pre-recorded. It is frankly unedited, so there are a couple of technical gremlins along the line, as you'll see with poor Andy Cooper's Wi-Fi. I think Chris Millington's Wi-Fi at the start, then his was fine. But all the questions that were put to us, we've been able to get as many as we could into the interview. Do share your thoughts. Do like and subscribe on the channel. Get your comments in both on this video, on this little half an hour one now, and on the full 90-minute one. We'd love to get your thoughts and views across. And yeah, that'll do us for the live part of tonight. We go live with the pre-rec interview with Chris Millington and Andy Cooper in a couple of minutes. For myself and Lou, though, enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the interview, Town fans. We hope it was a good one. We hope you enjoy it. And we'll see you soon. We'll be back next week with a slightly longer version of the non-league show, that is for sure. But until then, we'll see you soon. Take care.